The great monotheistic religions of the world share 9 structural axioms. While the outward execution of ritual and law varies across centuries, the underlying wireframe of these faiths remains consistent. To understand this consistency, we have to look at the theological map proposed by Iman Motlagh Arani. Her study analyzes how Christianity, Islam, and the Bahá'í Faith navigate the same foundational truths through different historical and legal economies. We can visualize this map as a matrix, 9 rows representing principles like the oneness of God, the nature of creation, and the final judgment. Across the top, 3 columns representing the distinct traditions. This grid identifies the specific points where these faiths converge and where they diverge. It provides a model of unity in differentiation, allowing for an analysis that respects the integrity of each tradition without ignoring their shared core. The first 2 rows of the matrix establish the theological baseline. All 3 traditions affirm absolute monotheism and the total unknowability of the divine essence. God is the source of all being, yet remains hidden from the reach of human intellect. In Christian theology, this unity is described as an ontological simplicity, where God's essence and existence are identical. This single, simple essence is expressed through triune communion, where 3 distinct persons exist in a mutual indwelling known as perichoresis. Islam articulates this unity through tawhid. This framework rejects any association of partners with God, or shirk. While the Quran describes divine attributes like sight or knowledge, classical theology insists these be affirmed without comparing them to created things or probing their physical modality. The Bahá'í writings define the divine essence as entirely inaccessible. Knowledge of God is mediated solely through the manifestations of God. These figures serve as mirrors reflecting divine attributes, though they remain ontologically distinct from the essence they reveal. Across the matrix, the divine essence is shielded. The divergence lies in the mechanics of disclosure, whether through Trinitarian relations, Quranic attributes, or the historical arrival of manifestations. Row 3 addresses the origin of the cosmos. Every column rejects the idea of eternal, independent matter. They agree that the universe owes its existence entirely to the divine will. Christian theology describes this as Creatio ex nihilo. God brings the universe, matter, and time itself into being out of absolute nothingness. It is a sovereign, instantaneous act with no prior substrate. The Quranic command kun fayakun, be and it is, describes a similar sovereignty. Philosophers like Avicenna and Mulla Sadra expanded this into a doctrine of perpetual creation, where the universe is a contingent reality that must be refreshed by the necessary existent at every moment. The Bahá'í framework describes this as eternal emanation. It rejects the idea of absolute non-existence becoming existence. Instead, creation is the continuous substantiation of forms and archetypes present in divine knowledge, like rays constantly proceeding from the sun. The theological tension here is a question of duration. One model emphasizes a singular temporal start. The others emphasize a state of perpetual ontological dependence. Rows 4 and 8 deal with how truth is communicated. Since God is unknowable, binding guidance requires historical intermediaries. These figures provide the bridge between the eternal and the temporal. For Christianity, public revelation reaches its definitive conclusion in Jesus Christ. As the Word made flesh, his life and teaching constitute the final self-disclosure of God, resulting in a closed and authoritative scriptural canon. Islam distinguishes between a nabi, a prophet who receives guidance, and a rasul, a messenger sent to deliver a new law. The Quran is held to be the direct, unmediated speech of God, a criterion that supersedes all previous books. The Bahá'í Faith categorizes these figures as manifestations of God. They are viewed as a unique order of being possessing essential infallibility, whose revealed words serve as the unerring balance for human society. Row 9 reveals the starkest divergence, the timeline of renewal. Christianity and Islam both maintain a doctrine of prophetic closure. In Islam, Muhammad is the Khatam al-Nubuwah, the seal of the prophets, after whom no new messenger will come. Renewal in these systems happen internally. In Christianity, the Holy Spirit guides the Church in interpreting the existing deposit of faith. In Islam, guidance continues through scholarly revival, the heritage of the imams, or the institutions of the community. The Bahá'í model is one of progressive revelation, where divine guidance is updated across history to meet new civilizational needs. This process is governed by a covenantal horizon. No new claimant to revelation can appear for at least a full 1,000 years. While the moral codes of these faiths often overlap, they part ways on the temporal architecture, the specific rules for when and how divine intervention enters history. Rows 5 and 6 focus on the religious life. The virtues of justice, compassion, truthfulness, and love are presented as divine mandates that reflect God's own nature. These are the conditions for spiritual growth and social order. Row 7 connects these virtues to an eschatological horizon. All three traditions maintain that every individual is accountable to God. The soul's trajectory is determined by its response to divine law. This accountability faces a biological objection, the problem of the eater and the eaten. If human atoms are continuously recycled through the ecosystem, a literal reassembly of past physical particles becomes a logistical paradox. Theologians like Avicenna and Mullah Sadra resolved this by defining identity through the rational soul rather than a fixed inventory of matter. The soul uses the body as an instrument, but remains independent of it. Justice is rendered to the person, not a specific collection of atoms. The Bahá'í writings treat resurrection as a spiritual awakening. Paradise and hell are defined as states of nearness or remoteness from God, conditions that begin in this life and continue after death. Across every tradition, eschatology serves to anchor moral laws in a horizon of inescapable accountability. This comparative map demonstrates that these faiths are structured systems of axioms and derivatives. The data in the matrix reveals a shared theological core. Every column relies on the same foundations: absolute monotheism, the necessity of moral obligation, and the primacy of revealed guidance. The divergences are equally specific: Trinitarian grammar versus Tawhid, creation as a singular act versus continuous emanation, and canonical finality versus progressive revelation. These are not arbitrary differences, but distinct economies of law and history suited to different ages and capacities. This model of unity in differentiation clarifies the theological basis of the Abrahamic tradition. It provides the structural tools necessary for confessional self-understanding and precise comparative study.